I'll answer your question. I'm ready to answer your question.
Which era was it?
What?
Which era was so great?
Here's the thing that you guys are forgetting. America was actually one of the slavery was all over the world. All over the world. America was. I'm not saying it's okay. So why are you saying oh?
Amen.
Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. In case you're new here, my name is Maren.
And I'm Maureen.
Right, so in today's episode, we have a very important question that you're going to be asking your audience. But before we do that, I'd like to urge each and every one of you, right, to just sit down and ponder over this question. Even if you have to pause the video, okay, then let us know on the comment section. And the question we're asking today is, when do you think America was ever great? Okay?
Right.
When do you think America was at its greatest? If you do have an opinion about that question,
Right, and today's video has actually been inspired by the slogan Trump was using last election, and I believe he's using the same slogan in this election. And both black and white people were asked this question. They both had different ways of answering, which was, I found like it was very interesting.
And made sense.
It made
especially
sense.
Coming from the black community.
And this is how, when I realized that different races can look at a question from different glasses,
Which makes sense when you look at it, because they all have different experiences. But guys, what are we talking about? Let's watch this video we put together for you, and then we come back and talk about it. Remember, if it's your first time here, kindly consider subscribing. Also leave us a comment so that we know what you think about this episode. Let's watch.
America was one of the first countries.
I want to like you so bad. Because you're so smart. I want to like you so much.
I can't answer the question.
I want to hear you. I want to be able to hear them. I want to be able to hear them.
Answer the question, and you're just gonna boo when I say slavery was all over the world, which is a fact. Why are you booing a fact?
Make America Great Again. My comment is, do you accept that that could possibly be construed as a racist remark? And most people, a lot of people go, how could that be racist? Make America great again? I said, so just ask yourself from an African-American experience, when was it ever great in America for the African-American? When was it great? So if you're making it great again, it's not including them.
So what she was trying to say, and did say eventually, is that America was one of the first countries to, she said, free our ancestors. Nope, it was one of the last. So it's just revisionist history. And then the question is, why? Why are you doing revisionist history?
Because that money is real nice, right?
No, I want an answer to that, because that's your slogan, make America great again. When was America great for you?
Okay, that is, American great is our freedom.
Freedom, your freedom? Or all of our freedom?
Everybody's freedom.
Everybody's freedom. So
yes.
when was America great for all of us?
When our forefathers.
Forefathers, the ones that own people?
No.
Which ones?
You have to look at the history. You got to look at the history.
I am. I'm asking you. Which for? George Washington owned 300 people and went after a few of them for running away. They signed a constitution that made black people, enslaved black people, 3/5 of a human being. I don't think it was great then. If you're asking me, a black woman.
Right, but you have to understand.
What?
Our history. To get where we are today. What's happening is our media.
No, Jackie, because again, if you can't walk me through the greatness of America and how you want to restore it to a place where it was great before, your whole argument falls apart. So walk me through when America was great.
Okay, so America has been great forever. Now the problem is the people.
For who though? No, I can't wait, because you need to answer the question. And again, you call up, and I'm glad, Mississippi. I love the state. You're a Trump supporter, which I want to get into the reasons behind that. But it's all around this freedom thing and this greatness thing, and we need to settle on what that looks like for you. And for me, and then for all of us, because if it's not going to be great for all of us, then it's not great for any of us, Jackie.
Well, my question is, why don't you think it's great? Because I've grown up, and
Okay, no. You answer my question first, please.
Okay, so you're asking me when it was great. It's been great. It has been great.
It has been great. So slavery was great. Trail of Tears was great. The Chinese Exclusion Act, great. The Japanese internment, great. That was great. Jim Crow was great. Back of the bus, colors only water fountains. Let me see. Brown versus Board of Ed. Oh, the throwing of tomatoes at little girls. The bombing of a church with little girls in it. That was great. The hanging of hundreds and thousands of black people, burning down towns in the 1920s. The draft riots in New York because of people having to fight for freedom. Freedom is liberty is everything, right? Liberty is everything. That was a great America to you?
Okay.
Okay, you can't just say, okay, was it great or not?
It's people that make it bad.
People make it bad. Yes, racist people, horrible people, genocidal people make it bad. You're absolutely right.
It's all about people. People that...
America became great when the Founding Fathers put pen on paper in 1776 and decided to build a country based on laws.
Right.
That was greatness.
That was awesome. Yeah. Other than the slavery, obviously, that was terrible. And
we did have that. Yeah, we did have that and the Indian thing, right?
That was terrible. And the women's voting thing. But other than that, that was awesome.
A few hiccups along the way, Like they say, nobody made it to the top without breaking a few pieces of china. That wasn't an insult, by the way.
When was America last great?
For me, I would say the turning point for our country was 1913, when we passed the 17th Amendment. And
so like back when women couldn't vote?
Yeah, back up, but again, let's go back.
That's kind of your sweet spot right there?
Absolutely.
What year was America great?
When it was founded.
Except for the slavery stuff.
Except for the slavery stuff,
I think we were probably our strongest immediately post-World War II.
So around the 1950s?
Yeah, mid-40s, 50s.
I mean, I think the 50s was great other than, segregation and women's rights.
Look, we could sit here and paint negative faces of all times in America.
Correct.
Make America great again. It's been his mantra since he's run in 2015. What does that mean? What is again? When was America great?
Well, that question right there says everything that I need to know about you, that you don't really think America was ever great at any time. I think America was great. The spirit, the whole purpose for America was about the American spirit, coming here and making something for yourself and having the opportunity to do that for yourself, to work hard. And that's what America is all about. So the people that hate America will always say, well, when was it ever great? It's just not a very good attitude to have, in my opinion.
And when was that lost in your estimation?
I think a lot of it was lost when the Federal Reserve took over the money system. We need to go back to a gold and silver-backed system where currency it counts.
Make America great again. What does that mean to you? What's the again?
To me, the again means that we have somewhere safe where we can have those freedoms that we are so lucky to enjoy. There are so many people throughout the world that do not have what we have, and it is a blessing. That's why we have people that want to be here, and we will fully encompass all of that greatness again.
When did we last have it, if it's again?
I feel like we did have that when President Trump was in office. I feel like we can work with what he built on in the first presidency and make it even better.
When he was running in 2016, it was before he'd even been president, but he was still saying make it great again. Again from when?
That is a good question. I would say if I could guess, it would be, and I think that they're very politically lined up would be maybe with JFK. And when he was president, and what we embodied with some optimism and freedoms that we didn't have before, and trying to find that.
When was America last great?
4 years ago, or 3 years ago.
Well, he was saying it before he got there. He was saying make it great again. So he didn't think. What did that message mean to you then?
I felt President Reagan was an excellent president too.
And nobody between Reagan and Trump.
I am not a Democrat, so.
Well, you had George Bush there, and you had George Bush's son.
He was right, yeah, but I still liked President Reagan.
You wrote, I have a whole video where I talk about when America was great. It's a value thing, not a time period thing. Well, I guess perspective is everything, right, my friend? See, I used to think just like this. I used to believe with my whole heart that the United States was and is the greatest and most free country on the planet. And if it hadn't been for the happy accident of me going to a seminary where in classes of 50 people, there were 3 white folks, I would definitely still think the same way. See, I was given the gift of learning from and being in relationship with people that experience life in this country from a very different vantage point than I do. And though it took me a really long time to believe their experience, much longer than I'd like to admit, I eventually did, which eventually led me to view United States history and present through the eyes of people that do not experience life in this country the way I do. That gift made it so that I had a very different vantage point on American values than the ones that I grew up with. Rather than believing that this country was and is the most free, the greatest country this world has ever seen, I began to see that the values at the core, at the foundation of this country, have nothing to do with freedom for all people. Coming to that realization was incredibly disruptive for me, but I'm so grateful for it because it finally taught me the value of the saying that the truth will set you free.
So guys, welcome back. Let us know your opinion on this, your opinion and thoughts on this episode, because we'd really like to hear from you, right?
Right.
Yeah. So when you look at this argument, when do you think America was ever great? Yeah, because that is what Donald Trump, that's the slogan Donald Trump is using to run in America, yeah? And you look at it, and people have very interesting perspective when it comes to these questions. Now let's talk about the T.I. and Candace Owens clip, yeah?
Right.
I feel like, because right now we know what she was trying to communicate, but I feel like Candice might have found herself in that situation because this is a very passionate topic, and I feel like she found herself in that
sensitive topic for Black
especially
Americans.
Black America, and she found herself in that situation because I feel like she did it to herself, you know, because she's always controversial.
You
so
know,
maybe
sometimes I don't know. I feel like Candice is not a bad person.
She's not,
and most of the things she says sometimes have facts, but the problem with Candice is her delivery. Her delivery.
Anyway, so according to the video we played you, what she meant to say in the end of all that clip is that according to her, she says America was great for Black people
when slavery ended.
When slavery ended,
and which, looking in her point of view, I feel like maybe she's associating the joy of, you know, finally having your freedom and to the point in Black America. That point they thought that America was great,
right? And when you ask why, okay, palm colored people this question, it's very interesting to say the least that a lot of them revert to every other thing except
slavery,
except acknowledging the role slavery played in their society, right? They all don't want, you know, it's interesting to say that, to see that when they're asked
they
about
really fumble with words when they're asked about what made America great, especially after they've chosen a specific period. Because I had someone here choose 1913, others, most of them chose 1940s, 50s and all of that. And then, you know, I just thought to myself, because others even say the slavery stuff, people who haven't walked a mile in the shoes of people who are affected by slavery, they really can't relate at all.
And you guys, just correct me if I'm wrong, is it safe to assume that a lot of the, only that they can't can't come out and say it out loud. But a lot of the palm-colored people, if it's up to them, the greatest time they consider America to have been would be the time that they were being served for free. They were
they didn't have to work because they had slave workers, and they didn't have to pay the slave workers because they owned the slaves.
And then when you go a little bit further, there was one who says, although they brought it up as a light moment
like jokes, but they usually say people who joke with sensitive things, listen carefully because it's often not a joke.
Right. So when they bring up, somebody brought up that the time America was at its greatest was during the period when women were not allowed to vote. And then you guys, you go back and you look at history and you look at that time that women were not allowed to vote.
It was also a time in history where women's rights were not respected.
In simple terms,
not most of it. So that is
women's
the period
wasn't
where
important.
Yeah, that's the period where some of these men say America was great. And when they say during this period that America was great, most black people can't help but associate it with the time where they were enslaved, and them themselves they know too, because that is the period where they could be lazy from morning to evening.
The
palm-colored people, of course, and they kept getting rich. And black America was the ones at that particular time. Much as they were suffering, they built America. Black America built America.
Right, guys, can we talk about how funny it is? And then let's also not forget to mention the fact that anything good that was built by a black person, it was taken away by a palm-colored person.
And in worst case scenarios, black people would be unalived for their inventions. And there is this syrup that Aunt I don't know if she's called Aunt Jemima invented. And this syrup, most people for the longest knew that it was
pancakes.
Yes, most people thought that it was a palm-colored person who had invented it until information got out that it wasn't a white person who had invented this invention,
Right. And guys, can we just acknowledge that? Okay, sometimes I do wonder to myself, how would the world look like if colonization never happened, if Africans just, melanated people stayed in their own places where they were, and, the original native people stayed where they were, and palm-colored people also stayed where they originated from. And then you just, have a fair playing field where nobody interferes.
Sorry, guys.
So sometimes I do wonder how the world would have turned out. It's easy to mask yourself under somebody and pretend that because you have certain advantages, you're pretend that to that community, and you take away the good that comes with them. And it's easy to, let's say, demonize those people because you have an advantage, that you can drive a storyline.
Yeah, just the other day I was joking with my sister and I was asking, what if we just picture a scenario where the way Idi Amin made the Indians go away,
and the way he made palm-colored people carry him, you know
what Idi Amin did, you guys. And then when you look in West Africa, what Ibrahim Traore did to the people from France, and he asked them to pack their bags and go. So I was just asking myself and asking my sister, what if the whole of Africa, these people were told to go within a month? How would have Africa looked like? Of course, without the corrupt leaders. They go and they take the corrupt leaders with them. How would Africa look like?
Right. So anyway, guys, let us know what you think about this episode. Another thing I want to say before we close the session is, I normally think about how difficult it is for palm-colored people and other groups to fully agree that Black America was a huge part in contributing to the growth of America. Yet they're treated like second-class citizens. Let's just say Black America really suffers and they're treated as the bottom of the barrel. If every other good thing comes, if there's a group that has to benefit, you know, you have to go down, and that is where you find they have kept black Americans, and you ask yourself, why is this? And yet, you know, yet they still say black Americans have not contributed as they would like to think, or a part of the growth America has experienced. But you look at the foundation of what America is today is because of the cotton plantation they used to have. If black America didn't contribute to the growth of America, why did they feel the need to keep breeding ground for slaves to continue mass producing the workforce?
And you know, we do understand that when it comes to white America, of course, both black and white Americans, they both built America. And white America, more than often usually say that the ones who puppeteered growth, while black America was their labor force, you know. And guys, you know what, why we were saying when it comes to certain sensitive questions like the one we are asking today, when was America great again? I said that because of different experiences, people might have different lenses while looking at the same scenario, you know, because a few white people here, they didn't say necessarily that it was because of slavery, but when you look around that time also, it's when vehicles were being invented. This was industrialization was coming up. So on the white side, they really had it good, you know. They had the freedom to enjoy all these things that were coming up. So maybe those who are referring to America was great during those periods, they are seeing this question and this scenario with that different white lens, you know.
Yeah, anyway guys, let us know what you think about this video in the comment section. We'd really love to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. If you're new here, kindly consider subscribing before you leave and turn on the notification bell so that you get every post that we make, right?
So see you on our next episode.